Hi guys, I have been avoiding this topic for the longest, but because I want to keep it 100 with you guys and because I get this question a lot, you guys are interested in knowing about racism in Germany, I'm finally making the video talking about racism in Germany according to my own experience and the experience of other Africans around me. So I would say that racism in Germany, it all depends on what part of Germany you are. For me, I live in Düsseldorf. I'm in North Rhine-Westphalia. I've also lived in Gelsenkirchen, and it has not been that bad for me. I've been living here for 11 years, and I've had 3 situations where I totally felt like, okay, that person was racist. And all the other times, you know, I get stereotyped. Like, racism is not a big issue, I would say. Being stereotyped all day, every day, like story of my life, and that affects me a lot. And but there's a big difference. You can't call people racist when they stereotype you, because those are 2 different things. And I'm going to share some stories to elaborate on this, and I promise you the stories I'm going to share are things that actually happened to me. I will not make any stories up for this video. Now, I have a friend who lives in the Dresden areas, close to Dresden, and if they were to make a video about racism in Germany, it would be totally different from the video I'm about to make, because she's had it hard. Now, that area is known for, you know, racism. I've never been there, but I've heard a lot of stories, and, you know, everybody associates those areas with racism. She's had it really bad. I'm talking cops being called multiple times. I'm talking going to court. I'm talking the news covering the story, and whilst the news crew is filming, somebody is walking behind shouting out the N-word like crazy. If my friend allows me to share some links about the story, I will put some links, because, you know, it was on the news. There's a lot of newspaper articles about it, but, you know, if she gives me the permission, I will put it in the description box like crazy. But in North Rhine-Westphalia, Düsseldorf, not so bad. But being stereotyped, story of my life. So let me share with you the first story. So this is me a few years, maybe 2 years, I would say, after arriving in Germany. I desperately needed a job, and I found something small, you know, a small weekend gig, and I get there on the first day, and the person I'm supposed to be working with or working for says to me, "I am so relieved to see you." When I heard an African was coming, I imagined a short, dark, N-word, yes, N-word mummy with short, funny, coily hair. And when I saw you, wow, you're gorgeous. And I'm like, is that a compliment? Like, what? Like, how do you say something like that? And it sounds even worse when you say it in German. He said to me, als ich gehört habe, dass ein Afrikaner kommt, habe ich mir so eine schwarze, dicke N-word Mami vorgestellt mit so ganz kurze, kribbelige Haare. I was just there like, you didn't just say that to me, right? Just taken aback. I couldn't speak German very well. I didn't have the vocabulary to even say something about it, and I desperately needed the job, so I didn't say anything about it. And fast forward, I kept the job for a really long time. I became friends with this man, and he was the nicest person I have ever met. I'm talking in my life, ever. Like, he I say was, past tense, present tense, because he's long passed on, but he is the person I think about when I think about how should I live my life. Like, nicest person, kindest person. He was one of those people who, when he tells you, if you need anything, let me know. If I can help, I will help you. He helped me out so many times. He became friends with my friends, and I can vouch for you, there was not a drop of racist blood in this man's veins. But so what was up with that comment? I don't know. Like, it's just somebody saying something stupid, somebody, like, Germans, it's typical German though. Germans have no filter. Germans are brutally honest. Germans will say what they think, and 99% of the times it's a good thing. You know, you don't want people who just say things to be nice, and people who lie, and people who, like, Germans are brutally honest. But, you know, there's certain times where you just need to hold your tongue because it will hurt somebody's feelings or it will offend somebody. And I've learned a lot from the Germans when it comes to this aspect, because when I first came to Germany, like, I was one of those people who couldn't even say no if it was going to hurt somebody. I couldn't say no if it was going to offend somebody. I couldn't say what I thought, you know. And now I'm totally different, but that's another video, what I've learned from the Germans. That's another video, and it's a good thing, you know, but not in situations like this. You have to be sensitive, you know, to people. But I guess that's what it was, just a stupid comment from somebody. And I feel like you will experience a lot of these things, a lot of comments like that, but that doesn't necessarily make somebody a racist or mean that they hate you. Like I just said, this person, like, honestly to God, I would not be standing here today had it not been for this man's help. I wouldn't. Like, he was just the nicest people ever. But, you know, said something stupid. And I could have easily walked away feeling like, I'm not going back to that job. That man is racist. Yada, yada, yada. You know what I mean? And the thing is, in Germany, there are a lot of black people living in Germany now, like in Dusseldorf, you know, in this whole area, there are a lot of black people. But what usually happens is that Germans and the Africans, it's like we coexist, but we have nothing to do with each other. And the Germans still know very little or nothing about Africans. And so what they think they know about Africans, they see it in the media, or it's like that. You learn a lot from the media, from TV, from magazines, from newspapers. And I must say, I really, really hate the way the German media portrays Africans. I really hate it. It's borderline offensive. Like, all the time when there's something about Africans, Africa, it's either dirty, hungry people begging for money. And there's nothing wrong with that, because there's a lot of hungry people in Africa and we need help. And when you show things like that, then maybe people donate and people get help. But that's not all there is to Africa. So it's hungry people begging for money. And then there's the safaris. And then there is, you know, when they say they're showcasing the African culture, like they will go to a place, find the one person doing the weirdest shit ever, and then they will showcase that on national TV, like African culture. Terrible. And so you have people walking who get this information, you know, and they're walking around with this idea of Africans and, you know, Africa, that we are just poor people who do the weirdest things, who have the weirdest mentality, doing, and it's just terrible. So another story, I get this a lot. Wow, your English, it sounds so good. Where did you learn how to speak English like that? I'm like, well, at school, you know, Zimbabwe was a British colony and everything is done in English, so I learned how to speak English at school. And people always look at me with disbelief, like, really? You never lived in England or America or an English-speaking country? Like, you really learned how to speak English like that from school in Africa? And it's like, yeah. And they're surprised because, again, back to the media. Whenever you see Africans, it's the Africans going to school under a tree with no resources, with, you know, learning how to do their ABCs down on the ground. And it's like, there's a whole nother Africa, you know. And it surprises me because Germans are well educated, well traveled. Like, people travel all the time and everywhere, but they still have this notion that almost like we know nothing. I don't know. Can't explain it, but I get that all the time. The thing about speaking English so many times, I swear to you. And okay, another story. I don't remember when this was. A couple of years ago, I got a job in a call center, and when we started this job, there was like 6 of us. You know, we did a small training, and then, you know, first day at work, I see the boss, you know, the guy who had just who was like the supervisor. he's just pacing up and down behind me, and I thought, oh my god, this guy totally likes me. No, that was not the case. He didn't like me. Matter of fact, his wife worked in the same building. He didn't like me at all. He was pacing up and down behind me to make sure I knew what I was doing and to make sure I knew how to use the computer. And it's like, why would you think that I don't know how to use the computer? Like, this is not computer science shit. I'm just talking on the phone and typing and pressing save. Why would you think I can't do that? Again, the media, all they see is people going to school under a tree with no resources, so I probably don't know how to use a computer in his head. Is that racist though? No, it's just being stereotyped. It's not racism, it's just being stereotyped. And things like that really affect us as Africans in Germany, because some people won't even give you a chance because they'll think, oh, you know, oh, maybe this person can't do this. Not because they're racist, but because they want the job done and they're not sure you can do the job. And so that will affect you getting jobs, that will affect you in a lot of situations. And I find it's really not fair, but you know, it's like that. And that is a problem, that it's like, people will say there are a lot of black people in Germany, but there's no co-mixing, there's no real association. What can be done about that? I don't know. You know, I think it's a normal situation though. Like Germany, and in Düsseldorf, there's a large Japanese crowd. Like there are a lot of Japanese people who live here, and we see each other on the streets. We might eat at the Japanese restaurant, but I've never really talked to a Japanese person. I've never really associated or, you know, hang out with the Japanese person. And so everything I think I know about Japanese people or Japan comes from the media. And when you're bombarded by, you know, by these Africans are begging, Africans have weird people who do weird stuff, then you walk around thinking that. And then you give out this vibe whenever you meet an African, you give up this vibe, but that doesn't make you a racist. You know, I feel like, you know, calling people racist is a heavy word, and it's really not fair. Like Germans, especially the young generations, they're not racist, they're very open-minded, you know, but misinformed or don't have a lot to do with Africans, so they think certain things that can be offensive to us. And I don't know how that can be changed, but I feel like if you're black and you're in Germany, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you're black and you're planning on coming here, you better get used to things like that and don't be offended, and don't go around thinking that people are racist. Sometimes, you know, when people say stuff to me, I do stop and have a conversation with them. Like, I might have grown up in Africa, but that's not what Africa is. You know, Africa is broad. People talk about Africa, that's another thing. People talk about Africa like it's a country. Not even a country, like Africa is a neighborhood or something, you know? Africa is so big, you know. We've got big cities like Johannesburg, we've got places like Cape Town, we've got, you know, places like Lagos that are really developed, and people live lives almost with the same standard like in Europe. So you don't have to associate all Africans with this poor begging, you know nothing, you're barely educated. I don't know what people think, you know. Another story. So this was when I was living in Gelsenkirchen. I lived in this building, and everybody had to take turns to clean the stairways, you know, and the stairs and this little area where we had the bins. And one time it was my turn, and lazy me, I really hated it. I didn't do a good job, you know. I just, you know, wiped down the stairs and just called it a day, let's just say it. And there was this old woman who lived across from me in my apartment, and you know, she would just look at everything like, and then she came and she rang the doorbell, and she was like, I saw you cleaning, but it's not clean, and you didn't clean the one window in this funny corner. And I said, yeah, okay, I'll do it again. And she said, you know, I understand if you're not used to cleaning houses, and maybe you're not, you know, you probably grew up in a house with no windows. I can show you how to clean the windows. What? Seriously? like seriously, grew up in a house with no windows, so I don't know how to clean windows. And again, this woman was a very nice woman, old woman, no filter, just said something stupid, and she was, you know, a nice woman, and I did help her a lot. She was old and she didn't live with family, she lived by herself. And a lot of times when I went shopping, I would offer to, you know, do her shopping, or, you know, when I saw her hanging her laundry, I'd be like, you know what, I'll finish that off for you. And sometimes I'd offer to vacuum for her, or, you know, she was a nice lady. But, you know, back to my, you know, people just say dumb stuff based on what they think they know about Africa. You know, she probably thought I grew up in a hut, you know, the thatched huts. I don't know. I don't know, but would you say that is racist? No, it's not. It's just somebody not having a filter and somebody thinking they know Africa based on, of course, the images that they're bombarded with all the time on TV and in the newspapers and stuff like that. So that's it for my video. You know, do I think there's a lot of racism? There's more racism in Germany than other European countries or other countries? Absolutely not. But like in every society, there are a couple of idiots who will say some racist things, or who will, you know, they are racists everywhere. Everywhere they're racists. But it's not more in Germany. You just have to avoid certain areas, I guess. And if you live in the areas that are, you know, friendly, then you can just have a normal life with no racism, but just being stereotyped. That's it for my video today. And if you are in Germany and you're watching this video, what have your experience been about racism? And what do you think I did an accurate assessment to this whole topic about racism in Germany or not? And if it's your first time watching my videos, it's your first time on my channel, and you like the content that I make, please don't hesitate to subscribe and like my video. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye.